Hello learners, I am Dr. Subodh Kesherwani working with Indira Gandhi National Open University in School of Management Studies. The topic which I am going to talk today is quite contemporary in nature and it is technological innovation skill development. So if you go into the backdrop of this topic talks about innovation, topic talks about the skilling and how the business is going to be changed with the change of technology, with the change of innovations, and how the skill is going to play a very important role, because when you talk about skilling, you are grooming the employer or the employee or the sometimes the consumers also, so that they can get the customized product or the tailor-made product. So we are going to talk today about this topic in a more innovative manner, and if you see, this is part of our BCom program, that is BCom CBCS, and the name of the course is Computer Application Business, which is a third semester course, and this is part of the BCOC-132 course, and the second unit talks about technological innovation skill development. So the first unit of this particular block talks about the business, and the second unit talks about the technological innovation skill development. So if you see this technological innovation skill development, there are certain changes which are playing a very vital role as far as the business is concerned. And if the business is not going to be changed, or the pedagogy of the business is not going to change, ultimately what will happen, the product becomes redundant and it will be out from the market. So this innovation, and when you talk about the technology which is changing with the change of time, the today's technology may be tomorrow obsolete structure. So how you're going to adapt the change, how you're going to adapt the technology, that is going to play a very important role. And when you go more into the depth of this, it's about changing the mindset. It's not about something which talks about the technology, how you're going to change your mindset, how you're going to adapt, and how you're going to put the things into a picture, that is more important. So it's all about the process, and afterwards the critical success and failure factor. We are going to do the SWOT analysis, we are going to find out, and the proper evaluation is quite important, because when you talk about the critical success and failure factors, we have to see, we have to evaluate the things in both the manner, that is the critics and the plus point and negative point. So these are the important ingredients which are very important, and increasing market competitiveness, because the way things are changing, we have seen that the market is changing with the change of time, and the shelf life of the company is changing. There was a time when shelf life of the company was 30 years, 40 years, but right now it has narrowed down to 10 years or 5 years. So how you're going to be competitive, how you're going to put the cutthroat competitions. So this is all about, so contribution to the research and development, that is more important. It's not like that research and development is purely a domain of the researchers or the scientists or the engineers, but the corporates are also doing a lot of research and development, because with that research and development, they are able to know that what could be the taste of the consumers, and what could be the pedagogy the company is going to be used. So there are certain change which are going to play a very important role, and when you talk about the change of the work culture is also going to be important, and about design of new products, services and techniques, because if you are not going to design the new product or the services or techniques, ultimately what will happen, that you are not going to survive in the market, and when you are not going to survive in the market, you will be out from the fray. So taking into consideration how we are going to design new products, services and techniques, that is very important. And improving existing products which lead to customizations, because tailor-made approach and how the product is going to be designed for the particular consumers, and it could be user friendly, these kind of the research is quite important. And when you talk about the new technological knowledge, this new technological knowledge talks about the certain changes which are coming up, like artificial intelligence or machine learning, or the deep learning or Internet of Things, because when you're going to talk about the knowledge, you have to see the knowledge in a technological perspective. And finally, the skilling is going to play a very important role, because how the technology is going to be imbibed amongst the employees, among the humans, so that they can adapt the change. And there are certain fears which are in their mind, that when the technology enters, ultimately they will be out from the picture. So this kind of fear should not be there. So if you talk about this particular theme, it's revolves around the technological innovation and skill development, and as I have already told you that if you see this paradigm shift in societal change, we have started with the hunting society, then we have got agrarian society, then industrial society, then information society, and finally the smart society is there. So we have moved from there is a paradigm shift from 4.0 to 5.0, and when you more talk about the 4.0, it talks about the work from home culture, and then learning at your doorstep. And when you talk about the society 5.0, it's purely smart society, which is more hybrid in nature. It's had a combination of the brick and mortar approaches and the contemporary approaches, and how it is going to be intermingled. That is all about this super smart society. And this super smart society is equipped with machine learning, artificial intelligence, and there are certain changes which are coming up. And what I have told in the very beginning, that how you're going to change the mindset, that is more important, because the conventional approach is quite fruitful in the present scenario, and if you are going to eliminate the conventional or the stereotype approaches, ultimately there are chances that the existing system would be on the deathbed. So there must be a proper synchronization, there must be a proportionately development which leads to the society in a more smart manner, and gradually the things can go on. If you are going to execute all the things in one shot, ultimately what will happen, you are not going to reach the destination in a systematic manner, and ultimately those who are associated with the organization, with the entity, or with the systems, if they will be eliminated, ultimately the whole system become collapse or haphazard. So this part need to be taken care, that how you are going to synchronize with the existing systems, and that existing systems can be executed with the contemporary thought. So if you see this technological innovation, the technology and innovation, when combined together, lead to technological innovation. That is very true, and we all know that there is no clear-cut definition about the technology. The yesterday technology is no more fruitful in the present circumstances. So ultimately what is happening, that technology is changing with the change of time, and innovation is something which started with creativity, then inventions, and finally innovate. So technological innovation implies new technology, whereas creating new products and services, and end of the day the new business opportunities come up. There were certain products which never exist in the past, but right now if you go more into the depth of it, you will find out these products are dominating, and the pedagogy is also dominating. Moving from commerce to e-commerce, then app-based e-commerce is there, and finally you see a lot of changes is coming up, and there are certain products which never there, like the Wi-Fi bulbs, or or the other things where there is no use of the stereotype approaches. You can take a help of Alexa, or you can take a help of a Google Assistant. So the voice-based technology is coming up, where if you are using a remote for the LED TVs, I think the voice-based model had come up where there is no use of remote. So ultimately the voice recognition software can enable or facilitate the viewers to just on the TV or off the TV. So this kind of model is going on. So when you talk about the technological innovations, it talks about generate or create a new idea which is based on technological capability or knowledge, which we usually call as an invention. So develop the idea into a reality, leading to building of a product, and this is called realization. So finally, when you invent the product, when one invent the product, when they realize, and then the implementation comes into picture. So implementation of new idea is going to play a very important role, because how you're going to implement that is more important. And when you talk about the technological innovations can be intangible, and as opposed to technology which is tangible in nature, because we can never get in a physical format as far as the innovation is concerned. So you can even apply the innovation process to your everyday life, and that we are doing. There are certain things which we are doing in our day-to-day activity, and from that activity we convert it into a process. So technology can be used to implement innovations, but the technology itself does not produce innovation. That is very true, because technology works as an enabler, and how we are going to use it, that is more important. There are certain examples which are definitely add over here, like the drone example. When drone was originated or invented at that time, it was, it was not everybody cup of tea to go and buy the drone, because the defense or the army is using that. And after certain time, you find out that right now the drone is delivering pizza in Western worlds. So this kind of pedagogy, this kind of model had come up, where technological innovations creates opportunities for entrepreneurs to find new organizations, establish competitive positions. Because we have to always see the things in a very positive manner. If we take example of a glass, we always say the glass is half filled or half empty. So when you're talking about the innovations, when you talk about the technological innovations, you have to talk in that perspective, that it is something which is definitely going to be helpful to the individuals or the society by and large. So technological innovation also creates uncertainty and risk. It's very true, because in my previous slides I have talked about the critical success and failure factors. Because when you talk about the critical success and failure factors, you are evaluating the things in a very systematic manner, in a balanced manner. So when you try to more go for the technological implementation, and you are not taking care about your existing setups or the legacy systems or the day-to-day, the employees who are associated with that, ultimately what happen, there is a chances that the system cannot synchronize with the existing approach, and ultimately it can trouble you. So there are some good examples about the change, there are some bad examples about the change. Those who are totally depend on the change, ultimately what happen, their system become haphazard. So one has to quite cautious that if you are not going to apply the technological in a systematic manner and based on your SWOT analysis, ultimately the organization will be in trouble. And there are some good examples and there are some bad examples where they run for the technology, and ultimately what happened, their legacy system collapsed, and organization were on the deathbeds. So their graph of the production and their graph of the credibility had goes down as compared to the present scenario. So if you talk about this innovation in technological business, there are certain changes which had come up, like advances in machine learning innovations, then algorithm training will result in new and further developed AI, and autonomous vehicles and robotics technologies had come up. We have seen that and the whole world is right now talking about the Industry 4.0 model. And when you go more into the depth of this Industry 4.0, you will find out Industry 4.0 talks about paradigm shift from fuel cars to electronic cars. And these electronic cars are somewhere the chauffeurless, and somewhere run by the robots, or somewhere run by the internet. So this is an era of autonomous vehicles where technology is changing with the change of time, and there are certain industries, there are certain players, automobile players, who had revamp themselves, and on the other hand, some of the organizations have not tried to adapt the technology or the innovations, so they are in trouble now, and they will be out from the picture. If you talk about the product called Tesla, the Tesla stands nowhere in the market as far as the automobile industry is concerned. But right now, the car they are producing, the product they are floating into the market, it's no doubt creating a mind-boggling approach. So these kind of changes had come up. So wireless charging technologies had come up, touch screens have come up, and voice-based assistants, which I was talking about, like Alexa, Google Assistant, and Siri is coming up. So this is something which is changing with the change of time. And when you talk about the invention cycle, it starts with the innovation, and then the creativity is there, then imagination is there, and then entrepreneurship is there. Because when you talk about the entrepreneurship, it's purely a combination of imagination, creativity, and innovations. The good example are the startups. We have seen that startups are started by the grassroots entrepreneurs, or the first generation entrepreneurs, and they are facilitated with the incubators, and these incubator cells are developed in the institutions, or the private institutions are also developing the incubator cells, where they groom themselves, and these incubator cells sometimes facilitate in arranging venture capitalists, angel investors, crowd funders. So ultimately what is happening, that when you talk about the invention, you have to cater the things in such a manner that it leads to employments, it leads to benefiting the society by and large. And when you talk about the entrepreneurship, you talk about the things in totality, because it talks about the employment, it talks about the livelihood of of the employee, and somewhere helping the society's corporate social responsibility is there. So when you talk about invention cycle, and when this invention cycle is going to implemented in business, in enterprise, it is having a very very different results, and that results sometimes benefit the society by and large. So if you see this particular discussion, we have a unit 2 which talks about this technological innovation skill development, and this unit explains about the concept of innovation model in different types. It deliberates on the significance of skill development and initiatives taken by the government of India, because when you talk about the initiatives, there are certain initiatives taken by the organization, and on the other hand the government used to develop the pedagogy which can benefit the people by and large. So this Ministry of Skill and other model is there. So if you see this particular discussion, we are going to talk on innovation, which we have already covered a little bit. Then technological innovation is going to talk on process of innovation, type of innovation. Then there is a difference between the Make in India and Made in India, which is an initiative by Government of India, that how we can distinguish these two phenomena and use the things in a development of the country as a whole. So then Digital India model is there, which is a creation of the present Government of India initiatives. Then skill development, which talks about the approaches and strategies, and finally the Startups India incubators, because all these things are linked, because when the innovation is coming, when the new company or the new startups, because as I have told you, there was a time when the shelf life of the company was 50 years, 60 years. Right now it has narrowed down to 10 years or 20 years. If you see, there are some good companies which never exist 20 years back, and there are certain pedagogy, there are certain system, or you talk about the e-commerce, or you talk about the m-commerce, the new philosophy had come up, and we have seen that the change is changing with the change of time, and the pedagogy is changing. We are in the pandemic stage, and in the lockdown there are certain new phenomena had developed, like work from home model had come up, or the electronic learning model had changed, or virtual meeting philosophy is changing with the change of time, and somewhere there's a disturbance from the technological part, but more or less it is going to be applicable in totality. So this kind of model is going to play a very important role. And when we are innovative, it's not like that the innovation can be done in a physical manner as far as the physical appearance of the product is concerned. Sometimes we apply the innovation to make the things consumer friendly or student friendly or other. So ease of doing is going to play a very important role, and it's not like that the initiative can be taken by the individual. The government is also quite friendly in nature, and they believe in ease of doing, like making a model which can be enterprise friendly, or the entrepreneurs are facilitated to come and invest. So there are certain red tapeism which need to be eradicated or narrow down by that. So this is all about, and if you see, when you talk about innovations, it's not like that which I have talked about, that it could be in a physical manner. When you go more into the depth of this format, there are certain things there are certain phenomena which is developed, like good place to work. And if you go more into the backdrop, you will find out that Google is a company which always stands at number one in good place to work, because it's not like that they always thinks about grooming their product, but on the other hand they are more emphasizing on taking care about the employees, how the consumers are going to be benefited, how the conducive environment need to be created, how this positive approach can be developed. And that is the reason this work from home model had been introduced by this social networking side. If you talk about the Facebook or you talk about the Google, that they are the one who have started, and during this lockdown period they have communicated to their employees that they can have they can buy the gadgets, they can buy the laptop or desktop, and there are certain amount which need to be reimbursed in lieu of that if they are going to buy. So this kind of conducive approach, this kind of positivity is definitely enhance the morale of the employee, and ultimately what happened, that they can their performance can be enhanced, and it's not and they are not confined to 9 to 5 model. So what I mean to say that things are going to be changed with the change of time, and you will find out that in a coming years more changes are going to come. So there are more innovations, more inventions which talks about developing the product, on the other hand making the phenomena more fruitful or user friendly, so that it can be benefited to the employees, it can be benefited to the consumers as a whole. So if you talk about how technology work as a process, we see that technology is not merely confined with the physical appearance of the product, but it brings a certain change. It's a perpetual thing which can go on in a lifelong manner. It's not like that you can learn the technology today, but you can not going to adapt the technology tomorrow. So when you're going to talk about technology is an enabler, no doubt, and we have to always believe that technology work as an enabler. It's not like that it can surpass the humans, and so it's no doubt human and machine can go together. But when you talk about the technology as a whole, it work as an enabler, it work as a facilitator. So if you're going to take the technology in that manner, in that, definitely it would be an edge. Otherwise, it can have a very havoc situation. So this is basically a critical success and failure factor. So technology is itself a learning, and it could be more perpetual in nature, and learning can go on a day-to-day basis, or in a routine manner, or in a regular basis. So learning can be lifelong also. And when you talk about the learning could be always in a 3 layers. That is, first you learn, then unlearn, and then relearn. If you have not adapt a habit of unlearning, ultimately what happen, you would be rigid, and ultimately what happen, the product which you have created as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, become redundant, and you will be out from the picture. There are certain good examples about the product which have dominated the market, and there are some bad examples also. Kodak and Nokia are the 2 very good examples which says that they have dominated the market. If you talk about the mobile phones, if you talk about the photo reels, but ultimately what happened, with the change of digitization, with the change of digital camera, with the change of smartphone, the Kodak philosophy had gone, and they have not changed themselves. Same happened with Nokia. The operating system they are using, it's not permit the users to quite smart. So the Android had replaced the Symbian, and ultimately you see how the change had come up. So instrument was good, the battery backup was good, and loyalty was brand loyalty was there, but ultimately the company have not changed. So that is something which is quite important. And when you talk about technology, it is like a pizza, and when you go into the market to buy a pizza, you get in a square box, and when you open it, it's a circle, and when you start eating, it's a triangle. So we have to see how we are going to take the technology, how we are going to adapt the technology. Ultimately, if we are rigid, if we are not going to, because technology always, it's like technology is like an opportunity, and opportunity knock the door but once. So if you are going to adapt the technology, ultimately you have to see that how you are going to take the technology. And sometimes the technology comes in a different shape, because if you get a shape of square, you can't eat. You eat when you get in a triangle mode. So you have to customize the thing. You have to make that in a tailor made, so that it can be user friendly. It can be useful for the individual. So when you go more into the depth of technology always believes in the phase implementation. It's not like that you can when you're getting the technology, you can just as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, or as a adapter, you can adapt the technology in one shot. And there is always a risk of adapting a technology in a one shot, because when you talk about the technology, it is like a rabbit. When you start evaluating, it takes a shape of an elephant, and when you go for final implementation, it takes a shape of a dinosaur. So what I mean to say, that buying a technology is not everybody cup of tea. There are certain costs which are going to be important into it. There are certain costs which are quite pivotal into it. So and it's a very expensive affair. So you have to see at which juncture you have to go for the technology, and what could be the proportion of that. So proportion is very important. And if the combination is not good, ultimately what happen, there are chances that that the taste can differ, or the requirement which you supposed to expect from the technology or from the product can vary. So that is the thing which need to be taken care. And when you see this particular image, you will find out that it's there is a feasible technology, there is a market, and there is a business. So innovation is in between, and it's quite popular also. So innovation is often also viewed as the application of better solutions that meet new requirements, unarticulated needs, or existing market needs, because based on the market needs the innovation need to be done. What I mean to say, the research and development need to be a routine phenomena, a routine matter, so that whatever the things can come out, it can be useful to the organization. So research and development could be quite customized, quite tailor-made, so that whatever the research is going on, it is going to be hit the particular frame for which the research had been formulated. So this is the model which is there. If you see, there are 6 types of innovations, and when you talk about the product, that what we produce and sell, when you talk about the services, it's exceeding customer expectations, because the customer expectation is changing with the change of time. There was a time when the company used to sell the product and they never believe in giving the services, but right now the services is an important ingredient. It's going to play a very vital role, and somewhat what we mean to say, it's 50% is the product and 50% is the service. So when you talk about the services, you talk about the customization, you talk about the tailor-made approach, and how you're going to interact with the consumers. Because if the company is producing 1 lakh product in a month, it's really cumbersome for the company to interact with 1 lakh consumers. But you have to develop a phenomena, you have to develop a model, like the help of the robots or the machine learning or the artificial intelligence, which can directly in touch with the consumers. There are certain e-commerce companies, they have created a voice recognition softwares, and artificial intelligence or the robotics are applicable into it. So with the help of robots, the robots are in the initial stage interacting with the machine, interacting with the humans, and try to resolve the problem. And if they are not able to resolve the problem at their end, then only the call can be diverted to the executives who are physically present in the customer centers. So what I mean to say, service is quite important in the present scenario, and process is very important. The continuous improvement and how we do the things. When e-commerce was introduced, the challenge was that how to get the product, and whether the product would be of the similar nature what we to buy in a brick and mortar mode. So this kind of model had been developed where logistics was strengthened, and then finally what happened, and as far as the food is concerned, when it's going to be delivered by Swiggy or Zomato or Food Panda app, you order the product and you get the product in 2 hours time. So what we mean to say that here the process is quite perpetual, and it's quite fruitful, that when the consumers order any product, they get the delivered. So right now it's not applicable with the food industry. There are certain the facilities which are available by the food by these e-commerce portals, where they strengthen the product and try to deliver the product in a very short span. So logistics is going to be changed with the change of time, and supply chain management is somewhat replace the term called logistics. And when you more talk about the supply chain management, it's starting with the consumer and end to consumer. So if the consumers are not benefited or not happy, ultimately the purpose of the supply chain is not going to be resolved. So management, when you talk about the management, the business strategies, systems and structures are going to play a very important role. And when you talk about the structures, it's not like that you develop the structures in a brick and mortar mode. You can take a help of a technology, you can apply the servers, the dedicated servers, or the cloud model, where directly the things are linked with the consumers. And so the customer-centric approach and the business strategies need to be developed, or the pedagogy is going to be formulated, and how the things are going to be benefited. So it's not like that the product which have got the physical appearance, there only the things are changed. And when you talk about the commerce, or when you talk about the business, when you talk about governance, everywhere this technology is going to play a very important role. Either it could be electronic learning or it could be a governance. You see the things are changing. The very good examples are the the Aadhaar card. There was a time when we have to rectify certain changes, or make certain changes in the Aadhaar card. We have to physically go to the channel partners who had been created by the government of India. But right now the model had been changed, where with the help of technology you can do that. So openness is coming up, and people are working beyond boundaries and collaborating globally. This model had come up in electronic learning. We have seen that things are changing, and there are certain things which is now accredited also, which is now recognized also. So openness is coming up, and everywhere people believe in openness, because when you talk about openness, you talk about the free and open things, and when the things are available free, its penetration, its footfall is quite larger as compared to the other thing, and more people can view it, and more people can give their opinion, and more sharing can be done. So lifelong learning and sharing can be done, and values are going to play a very important role, because creating unique value that eliminates the cost to complete, and that is more important. If you see this particular types of innovations, you find out that this had been bifurcated by in the form of innovation wheel, and we have configuration, we have offerings, we have experiences. And if you see the configuration, it talks about the profit model, then network, then structure. And if you talk about the offerings, talk about the process, then product performance, and then product system. So finally the experience talks about the customer experience, brand, channel, and services. So in e-commerce also, the experience is quite important. When one consumer buy any product, he or she put the reviews on the particular portal, and finally when the next user used to buy the product, he can initially see the reviews of the product. So there's a good thing that you can get the review of the product, and finally you can. It's not like that it can applicable to the product. There are some good books. There are certain the web series which are coming up, and what we observed that it had replaced the phenomena of the startups, replaced the phenomena of the setup boxes. So what we observed that when we talk about the this setup boxes, people have moved from this to Prime Video or Netflix or the YouTube, where or Disney Hotstar, where what we observe that they are into the web streaming, they are into the web series, and prior to going to the particular the web series, you can glimpse the trailer, and you can get the information. So what I mean to say, the past experience, previous consumers' opinions are going to play a very important role, and brands and channels and services are changing with the change of time. It's not like that the brand which was there in the past going to be exist in the present scenario. So and the channel is also changing. So distribution channel, which was very stereotype, like wholesaler, retailers, or the brick and mortar stores, is now changing, and it's changing with the change of time. The community kitchen philosophy had come up. The dedicated kitchens or mega kitchens had come up, where they have got a food which fulfills all the parameters, and all these food apps are linked with that particular portal and delivering the product from there. So during this lockdown period, during this pandemic stage, we observed that these kind of business had groomed a lot, and fast moving consumer goods market has also come up. So there was a time when we visit to the Parchun Wala and buy, and from that store we used to buy the product. But on the other hand, we order the product through this fast moving consumer goods app, and we get the product on a same day. So same day delivery model is going on. So services is something which is changing, and we observe that things are changing. So when you talk about the creativity, it talks about the discovery, it talks about the invention, and it talks about the innovation. So when discovery is all about the new ideas, knowledge and concepts, invention is talking about technologies and business models. How the business models need to be created, because if the model have a long-term vision, it's quite good. If the model have short-term vision, ultimately what happen, the company will be dead best after a certain time. The very good examples are the startups. We know that in every day thousands of startups are coming up in all the domains. Either talk about food, or talk about aviation, or talk about travel, or you talk about physical appearance, or talk about learning, or talk about the governance. But out of that only 5% or 1% get the success. Why other fails? Because their business model is not fruitful. Their model is to just take the money from the venture capitalists or the crowdfunders or angel investors, and once that money exhausted, they become bankrupt or they are out from the pictures. So in the beginning stage, it seems quite lucrative that you get a lot of money from the venture capitalist, and after certain time, what happens when they eat all the money, they are in trouble and they shut down the things. So business model need to be quite important, and when you talk about innovation, it talks about useful implementations, commodities, goods, services, and experience. So everywhere you find out the innovation is going to be played a very important role. Amazon is pioneer in e-commerce, and we have seen that they are the one who have introduced the philosophy of interacting with the consumers. The robots are going to be interact with the consumers, and these robots are interacting with the consumers, that in a real sense you will find out that you are interacting with the humans. So this kind of philosophy they have developed, and the database they have created, and real-time information are going to be shared by these companies, and they create a backup of that. So at what time as a consumer, at what time you're going for the window dressing, at what time you're going to buy the product, at what time you're going to buy the different kind of product, and when you're going to do the window dressing, when you're going to actually buy the product. So this kind of the real-time information are going to be kept, and there the technology and innovation is going to play a very important role. And certain new products are coming up. As far as the speakers are concerned, you see the Alexa enabled speakers are coming up, or the Siri is coming up, where they are navigating the consumers, they are navigating the users to do all the things. And from this Wi-Fi or web-enabled speakers, you can do the shopping also. So there is no need to open the gadgets, and there are certain informations which need to be done with the help of that. So when you talk about this term, that innovation, invention, and creativity, the creativity is the act of turning new and imaginative ideas into reality, because we create certain things, and invention is creation of new idea or concept. That is very true, because when new idea or concept comes, how we are going to apply in the industry state of affairs or academic state of affairs, that is very important. So innovation is turning a new concept into commercial success. The example is the drone example which I have quoted, that it was started by the army or by the defense, but right now it is used by the different agencies. It's not like that. It's just doing this kind of job. In marriage parties, in banquets hall, we have seen that drone is taking a snapshots or recording photo shoots. So this is something which had brought a change. So this is a paradigm shift, which starts with a novelty, then creation, then innovations, and then imagination. So all those things are going to be quite important. And when you talk about the importance of innovation, innovations helps in solving problems. Example given, providing customer service virtually using online complaints, and innovations helps organization to face the competitions also, and how you're going to change yourself, how you're going to revamp yourself, and they are certain, and it is going to work as a alarm bell when you're going to change yourself, so that the new players are coming with the new thoughts, and you can also bring that product, so that things are going to be changed. So the process of innovations talks about idea generation and mobilization, then advocacy and screening, then experimentation. Commercialization is quite important, because every time if you are innovating, every time if you are inventing and not having a profitable model, ultimately what happens, the company will be on the deathbed. So when you talk about research and development, when you talk about innovations, it had a cost. So that is the reason changes are not always good. And the example which I was quoted, that when you talk about evolution, it is a rabbit. When you start exploring, it take a shape of an elephant, and when you go for final implementation, it take a shape of a dinosaur, because cost is going to play a very important role. There were some good organizations who had started with a very positive approach, but they have massively invested on their technologies, and they have not taken care about their legacy systems, about the stereotype conventional approach, and ultimately what happened, the whole system become haphazard. So it's not like that, and you have to quite cautious that what could be the budget of the technology. Either it could, based on the size of the or the potential of the companies. Like if you have planned that the budget could be 20 crores, then it could be revolves around that only. It's not like that it can cross 20 crores and become 50 crores. So how you're going to arrange the 30 crores, and in that case what happened, you talk about the technology, and you will be in trouble. So diffusion and implementation is very important into it. I think we have talked about many things, and we see how the innovation and creativity is is changing with the change of time, and government of India is also doing a lot of effort in this particular directions, and there are certain models, there are certain pedagogy which had come up, there are certain initiatives like Digital India initiative is there, or Skill India initiative is there. We have seen that skilling is very important. It's not like that every time the government is going to initiate all those things, but many things need to be done by us only. So the famous quotation talks about that charity begins at home, and if you are not going to change yourself, ultimately you're not going to put yourself in the coming environment. So change is very important, and if you are changing yourself, if the organization is going to change, ultimately what happens, the many things are going to be done by that. So what we observe that this diffusion and implementation is something which is there, and there are certain brands which have dominated with the help of this virtual reality, and many e-commerce brands have also come up which talks about the live commerce, and spoon-fed information is there. So what I was talking on, that these are the innovations, and which are started by the government, by the organization, by the individuals, and the technocrats also coming up, startups, and no doubt another model is one step in this direction, and government is also doing quite a lot doing in this direction. So Make in India model versus Made in India model is quite applicable, where there was a time when we exclusively believe in Made in India and involves domestic factors of production, that is land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship and technology. And right now we have come one step ahead to that, which talks about Make in India, which is just an invitation to the foreign factors of production in form of capital, technology and investment to employ Indian laborers and use the land and natural resources in India. That is something which invite the foreign players to enter the Indian market and develop the product. Like the big brands like Apple or the other players are going to make their manufacturing hub and going to deliver the product over there. So Digital India program or the initiative is a great initiative by the present government, which talks about the robust digital infrastructure throughout the country, resulting in authentic digitized identity to the citizens of the nations, and believes in the good governance, because good governance is something which always believes and talks about the ease of doing the things, and online services and cashless transactions are going to be emphasized more attention. UPI and wallets are knocking the door, and in the coming years you will find out more contemporary thoughts are coming up, like virtual currency is coming up, which is backed by the blockchain technology. And this blockchain technology is something which was initiated by Satoshi Nakamoto, who was Japanese, but in the coming years you find out this blockchain technology is used by the hospitals, by the education institutions, or by the charitable institutions also. So digital empowerment through digital literacy could be one of the initiatives by the Digital India campaign, and it provides speed internet services and reaching to the unreached, so that broad highway can be created, broadband highways can be created, where there is no need of physically going over there, but with the help of internet the things are going to be changed, to provide e-governance by reforming and digitizing government services, to bring e-revolution in terms of electronic delivery of goods and services, and to provide basic information through online platform. That is more important, because if the online platform is going to be developed, ultimately the consumers or the citizens of the country can do the things from there. So to provide more employment in the IT sector. So skilling is quite important when you talk about this particular things, and they are top creative thinking skills which revolves around analytical, open-minded, problem-solving, communication. Openness is something which is very important because it always believes and provides flexibility to the individuals to learn at their own pace and at per their own convenient. There are certain universities who are doing a lot of, as far as the learning is concerned. Indira Gandhi National Open University is one university which is the genesis behind this particular university was that only that how the modular approach or the reaching to the unreached philosophy is going to be developed. So, and from there the skilling is come because as I told, the technology or the learning requires a cost, and if there is the massive cost involved, ultimately what happen, the poor will make themselves away from that. So ultimately what I mean to say, this skill initiative is something which is a national policy, and skill development entrepreneurship program is a creation by the national skill development missions, and a lot of different initiatives are there, and one of the initiatives are Kaushal Se Kalyan, and then Kushal Bharat Abhiyan, and then mapping demand and supply. So ultimately what I mean to say, this kind of model is coming up. So skill initiative is the initiative by Government of India, and this e-skill e-learning aggregator portal is also developed, and SWAYAM platform is developed. So ultimately the purpose is very clear that they are going to develop a philosophy, they are going to develop a model, a skilling model, which is definitely going to help the citizens of the country. And what we have observed that there are certain courses and skill development programs initiated by like Government of India has special focus towards skill development to cater the growing scientific sectors, and these sectors require special skills to carry out research and innovations. And on the other hand, these opportunities the government offers are following like Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, skill acquisition and knowledge awareness for livelihood promotions, then standard training, assessment and reward, then Udan, then a lot of schemes are there, and there are certain agencies who are working as an enabler or facilitator. So what I mean to say that skilling is something which is a need of an hour, and if the organization is not promoting or the individual is not updating, ultimately the things are going to be not as per they think of. So the individual or the citizens or the employee always have to believe, always emphasize on the learning, and when they are skilling themselves, ultimately they are getting an edge as compared to the other employees or the other persons, and definitely it is going to be a win-win thing for them in the coming futures. So the Startup India Incubator model is there, where Startup India is a flagship program which was started by Government of India, and there are certain incubators. When you talk about the incubators are incubator cells are going to be developed by the government or by the particular institutions or the private institutions, and these incubator cells are equipped with many things. They are bringing the venture capitalists, they are bringing the angel investors or the crowd funders. So one-stop portal is there, one-stop solution is there, where if any grassroots entrepreneurs or the first generation entrepreneurs have certain thought in his mind and he want to initiate anything, these incubators are going to help in that. Because what I have told that starting anything is quite easy, and how you're going to accomplish in a coming years, it's really a tough task. So this incubator cells and these educators or the mentors can definitely help the startups or the initiators to work on that. I think by that we can wind up, and the action plan has 3 pillars which are as follows: simplification and land holding, funding supports and incentives, and industry and academia partnership incubation is there. So what I mean to say that innovation is something which is a need of an hour, and when you talk about the startup, it is a way by which the things are going to be changed. I think by that we can wind up our session and complete this particular thing. In a coming session we are going to talk on different aspects. We are going to talk on emerging businesses and the other units which can definitely helpful to the learners. Thank you very much.